Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be talking about Over the Hedge. Now Over the Hedge starts off with our main character RJ, the raccoon, who is trying to get some chips out of a vending machine. And he uses everything he has in his bag. He uses everything that he has in his bag, but nothing works. And he even uses his boomerang after he broke his grabber to get the chips out of the vending machine. But you know boomerangs, it just came right back to him. And then he just decided to give up. But then he looked up at Vincent the Bear Cave. And Vincent is a bear that he wakes up during the winter. So he knows that Vincent has a lot of food. So he goes to get some. And honestly, you guys, I would have just grabbed like a few chips and, been on my merry way. But no, that's not what happens. He just doesn't grab chips. And honestly, with that chips thing that RJ has, because it's not in the pile with everything else, I would have just took the chips and ran. But that's not what happens. He just doesn't take the chips and run, okay? Okay, so he gets up to the cave by using a grappling hook that he has in his bag, and he walks in to the cave while Vincent is sleeping, and he grabs the chips that are on the ground in their baggies. But all of a sudden, he sees a wagon full of food, and he says to himself, just take what you need. Just take what you need. And then he just ends up taking the whole wagon. And then, I don't know how, but he just pushes a button, and then the wagon just pops out of the cave. And then he tries to be greedy again because he sees that Vincent has chips in his paw. So he tries to open the Pringles. Well, Spuddies, they call it. But I'm just going to call them Pringles because that's what they look like. So he tries to open the Spuddies, but you know the sound that plastic makes when it's on a Pringle container. It makes that popping noise. So it turned out that little popping noise woke Vincent the Bear up. And RJ was so slick that he even took the can out of Vincent's hand and put a coffee cup in his hand, and with all the other goodies just sitting there. Okay, RJ, my guy. If you're gonna steal something, here's the way it should work. Why didn't you get everything outside? Take the can of chips with everything outside, and wait until you got outside to eat it instead of eating it right in front of him because the noise would wake him up, but then again, the noise did not wake him up when RJ actually pressed the button to release all the food in the wagon in his carrying package at once. None of that stuff woke him up. But how did the single pop of that can opening wakes him up? I don't know, it's a cartoon. So he wakes up and he says, RJ? And then RJ says no. And then Vinton says, the moon isn't full. You woke me up a week early. And then he finds out that he's holding the coffee cup. And then he looks at his wagon and it is packed to go with RJ. So Vinton says, RJ, don't think you're dumb enough to actually steal my stuff. RJ, I'm going to have to kill you. And so he goes to actually eat RJ, but RJ says, whoa, whoa, whoa. Please don't kill me. I'm just a desperate guy trying to feed his family. And then Vinton tells him, you don't have a family. And then RJ says, I mean a family of one. And then he says, whoa, 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 technically it's still in the case, so technically not stolen. And then RJ bumps into the wagon. The wagon ends up in the street, and I don't see why the bear and RJ, if they work together, I don't see why they couldn't just grab it because they seen it was in the street, but then it got hit by a truck. So honestly, if they were fast enough, they could have grabbed it and everything would have been okay. Because even they started laughing when it went fast into the street, but then the wagon slowed down, and then they were like, phew, and then they were both laughing, and RJ said, oh, that was a close one. And then Vincent started laughing with RJ, and actually a truck passes by, so the food is run over, and Vincent lost all his supplies. And then Vincent says, RJ, I'm going to have to eat you then. So he almost puts RJ into his mouth. What he Vincent the bear almost puts RJ into his mouth. And then RJ says, wait, Vincent, I can get it all back. He was like, that's right. If you eat me, you'll have to do it. But I can get it back, all of it. And then he and then and 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 then and and then Vincent says my red wagon, and then RJ says rudder, and then Vincent says my blue cooler, and 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 and, and, and then RJ says blue cooler on my list, and then RJ actually asks, does it have to be blue? And then Vincent says yes, and I want my Spuddies. So he wants the Spuddies, the chips that he was holding on to earlier. Keep this in mind because this will be important at the end. And then Vincent says, man, I love those things. Because with the Spuddy, enough is just never enough. And then he tells RJ, alright RJ, I'm going back to sleep. But when that moon is full, I'm waking up. And all my stuff better be back the way it was. So RJ tells him to rest easy because he's on it, and he is walking along, still trying to find food because he's hungry. And then he finds the chips that Vincent was talking about, but it's all crumbs now. So he actually does find a list of things that Vincent wants, and so he does actually go into. So he does actually see a billboard of like the blue cooler, and I do actually like the way that they start off the movie with showing you all the people who is gonna be in the movie. I thought the way they were showing it was like very creative. I thought the way they were showing it was like very creative. So anyway, and then we meet Fern, the turtle, and then he tells everybody who is sleeping to wake up because they only have 3 or 4 days until winter. And then Stella the skunk says, y'all better listen because I've been holding something in all winter and I'm about to let it out. So everybody comes out, the kids come out, their parents come out, and Hammy he goes to the who who goes to use the bathroom. Hammy is actually one of my favorite characters. She's just so cute and so caring about everyone else. And he has so much energy. And and um and Fern actually finds some grapes because they didn't fill the log all the way up to the top. They didn't have enough food. So Fern says, this year we gotta make sure we fill the log all the way to the top. And this is when RJ is listening in and finds out that they're foragers. So he decides to use them to get the food for Vincent by making them by actually making them like him and trust him so he can get the food from Vincent and so Vincent won't eat him in return. So, while they're having their meeting about what to do for next year, Hammy actually comes in. Hammy actually goes to him, goes to Fern, and tries to tell him that there is a bush over there that he saw when he was coming back from the bathroom. That there's a bush over there, and it is really scary, but Fern doesn't let Hammy get a word in yet. So, when he's done talking, he tells him about the scary thing that he saw. So, Fern goes over to investigate, and it turns out that humans are living on the other side of the forest with this big bush that RJ tells them after first meeting them that it is a hedge and that it is a good thing because now they have easy access to food if they just go into the yards and the houses. But here's the funniest thing. So, so, um, so RJ tries to talk them up into going over, going over the hedge to get the food from inside the houses, but Fern can see that there's something up with RJ that he is not liking, and so he tells the rest of his family that the tail is tingling, and then RJ says, "Hold on, the what is what?" And then Fern explains that every time something doesn't feel right, his tail tingles, and that everything that RJ just said just now is driving his tail crazy. And then RJ shared with him Doritos. And then everybody says that they're good. And then RJ says it's all good. And we're going over there tonight. Yeah. So they go over there. And it seems to be a wonderful place. A gorgeous place where they have heaps of food. And they go into their garbage cans. And they seem to be having a good time, but then we bump into Gladys Sharp, and she is the home executor of the home humanization home home organization of the home organ something. The president of the human uh, human human association. So she sees them, and all of a sudden the cat sees them too, and he's like, intruder, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. And then Gladys Sharp sees them, and she starts hitting them with a broom. And then Fern says, "You see, that's what I'm talking about. These humans don't want us around." And then RJ says, "So we scared her and she overreacted, no biggie." And then Fern says, "Oh, that is what we would call a biggie. Now, I think I speak for the whole family, Fern says, when I say we want nothing to do with what's over the hedge. And then everybody starts to walk away from RJ and is on their way home to the log. And then RJ starts to sleep in his tree that night. And he had the nightmare that the moon is already full, that the moon is already full. And that Vincent is going to eat him. But it was just a dream. And then, when everybody is packing up and trying to get food because they don't want to go over the hedge again, the kids are complaining and saying, I want a donut. I want pizza. And then they're and 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 and, and then their mom is saying, no, you don't. And then Fern is picking is is um is picking stuff out for him to eat. Well, they look like sticks. I'm gonna call them sticks. He picked up some sticks for him to eat, and he says, okay, this is great, and there's a lot, and there is lots of fiber in there too. Lots. And then RJ says from his tree, that does look tasty. And then Fern says, what are you doing here? And and then RJ tells him, I'm here to help you with your forging thing. Because the first day they were there, he said Ozzy the possum said that they filled the log all the way to the top. And RJ says, how long did it take to fill the log? And then Heather, another possum, says 364 days. And then RJ says, ever done it in a week? And then Fern says, that's impossible. And then RJ says, not if we work together. You see, they have the food gathering skills. You see, you have the food gathering skills, and they have the food. And now, today, he is trying to tell them that something really touched him the other day, because he said a word about his little gang there, and it started with the F, and RJ said, do you remember what that was? And Fern says, family. And then RJ says, Yes, family. You see, Fern, I used to have all that. A big house surrounded by loved ones, but all that changed with the weed hacker incident. And then everybody just feels sorry for him. And then Hammy, my boy Hammy, the sweet little thing, he gives him a hug and he says, "The weed hacker, Fern, the weed hacker." And then RJ just walks away with a sad look on his face. And everybody's like, "Oh, I can't take it. This is so sad." So Fern says RJ can stay, and then he gives him a hug and says, "Come here, you big lug. I knew inside that crushy, inside of that hard shell, there was a mushy, soft center in there." And then he asks if he can work with Hammy. And then they try to get some cookies. So Hammy pretends to be a rabbit squirrel. So a squirrel that has rabies. And so Andre makes him look like a rabbit squirrel to attack, to pretend to bite these Girl Scouts for their cookies, but the Girl Scouts are not backing down because they have their spray, they have their research book, like they are spraying Hammy, beating up Hammy, and then Fern tries to save Hammy, but then they actually beat up Fern, and then Fern loses his shell. But they get the cookies, so everything's okay. And RJ says, "Eat up, my friends, 'cause this is only the beginning." And then Fern says, "What?" And so they end up getting like a bunch of food. And then Gladys Sharp sees that all the food is disappearing, the garbage cans and the garbage is everywhere in town, and so she is calling an exterminator from every country, and she is searching the list for every exterminator, and Ozzy, Helen's father, the two possums, Ozzy actually gets hit by the car, but he's fine because he pretends to be dead. And then when the exterminator comes, the exterminator says that 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 he is a professional, and the woman Gladys Sharp says that she is throwing a welcome to the neighborhood party tomorrow, and so far her neighbor's Debbie's car has killed more animals than she has. And then he tells her to stand down, sister. I guarantee you there will never be a living thing at this party. So they almost get Ozzy, but then he jumps out, runs to the other side of the hedge, and he is safe. And they got the cooler, and they got everything that's in the cooler, and everything is great. And so they actually have a little surprise for RJ. So they actually built him a welcome home place there in the forest with them. And the kids actually hooked up the cable and everything is going great. They're watching TV when RJ's guilt started to get to him because everything RJ turns to either says you betrayed us, and then they stop at Dr. Phil, and then Dr. Phil says, "Get real, Kevin," because when someone knows you're a dirtbag, that kind of means you're a dirtbag. So RJ is scared by this, scared that he won't be able to lie for them much longer, and he actually starts breathing into a chip bag and says to himself, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. RJ, what are you doing, man? Just get the food, feed the bear. Get the food, feed the bear." And then he realized that the food is gone, and then it turned out. And then it turned out that Fern actually takes the wagon of food and he actually takes it and he actually is on his way to take it back to the humans because he is jealous of RJ getting all the attention, like everybody's like taking family photos with RJ and not noticing Fern. So he takes the food back. Also because also because also, also because he's jealous, and also because they don't want to end up like that plastic rabbit that is on the exterminator's car, where the rabbit is being squished by a hammer. And then RJ and Fern start fighting over it, but then they bump into a dog hooked that is hooked on a chain, but the dog is chasing them and he is saying play, 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 play. And the cute dog just wants to play with him. But when all this is happening, Fern and RJ are dropping all the food, and RJ is saying cut, but he doesn't cut the soda real good. And this all happened because Fern's because Fern stepped on a squeaky toy, waking up the dog. So they end up busting through a fence, messing up a barbecue, and actually losing all the food but the chips because they don't unhook the chain that they are on with the dog. Even though the dog is gone, they are still on the chain, and RJ told Fern to unhook the chain, but he didn't listen. And so every food is gone except the chips that are falling from the sky. Oh, and the umbrella is catching on fire. Oh, and you know the red wagon? Yeah. The red wagon went on to Gladys. It actually went on Gladys Sharp's car, and it actually blew her car, and it actually blew the car up. And so they make it back to the hedge, and then RJ starts crying like the food gone, all of it gone, and then everybody says, "What? How is it gone?" And then he points to Fern and he says, "At him." And then when when Ozzy and Lou are helping him are helping him um are are helping are help are helping Fern get up. They said, "What you did? What?" Because Fern tells them that he returned the food to the rightful owner, and then everybody was like, "We needed that food, Fern. We worked our tails off to get all the food, like a lot." And Heather says, "When you and 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 and, and, and then Heather says, "We worked our tails off to get that food, like a lot." And you're all like, "Whatever." And then everybody tells Fern that he's just jealous of RJ, that they found a new food, they found a new way to, they they found a new way to gather food, and that RJ isn't breaking their future, and that Fern is just holding them back. But Fern tells them, "Can't you just tell that RJ is just using you?" And then everybody says, "Fern, RJ would never do anything like that, even though that's exactly what RJ is doing." And then and 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 then Fern says, "You see what you've done here? They listen to half of the stuff that you're telling them. They'll be dead within a week. You are only interested into you are only interested into taking advantage of them because they're too stupid and naive to know any better." And then everybody feels hurt by this. And then Fern says, "I didn't mean it like that." And then everybody just walks away from him. Even Hammy. The sweet little thing is just so hurt. My poor Hammy. My poor Hammy. So the little porcupines do find the chip, and they do put a band-aid on it, and they give it to RJ. And then RJ does a half smile because at least they tried. and then RJ and Fern had a heart-to-heart. Meanwhile, on the other side of the hedge, the exterminator is putting traps and putting a deporter turbo into her yard, which is illegal to have in everywhere except Texas. And then and 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 then Gladys Sharp says, I don't care if it's illegal, I want it. So the exterminator says, I thought you might. So that's why I took the liberty to install it for you. And then it turned out that the lasers will actually hurt the animals and put them in cages when they're done hurting them. And then RJ sees this and he says, what have I done? And then him and Fern and then him and Fern have a heart to heart, and then Fern says, maybe everybody's right, maybe I'm just jealous because you're so cool and fearless, and I'm just not. I'm over cautious, and that there are even places in my shell that I haven't been. And I think RJ, you is what's best for my family now. But RJ tries to tell him the truth, but then and but then he see the truck with everything that they lost at 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 Gladys Sharp's house, because remember that she is throwing that huge party. So they actually get into the house by using Stella a distraction for the cat. So they actually give Stella the skunk a makeover, and she and the cat, they actually begin talking, but she actually does accidentally almost blowing her cover when she stick up for herself and says, okay, that's it. I'm well sick and tired of everybody taking one look at me and don't want to talk to me because they think I'm filthy. I got makeup everywhere, man, and you do not even want to know how long this makeover took. And then the cat and and then the cat Tiberius says, stop. No one had ever talked to me like that. It is so straightforward. I love it. And so they end up hitting it off because Tiberius, but Stella called him Tiger. So Tiberius actually tells her that she has beautiful eyes, and while everybody's packing up the house, getting everything done, and there's actually a camera all over the house, but the security camera is actually on, but this woman must be a heavy sleeper because she doesn't hear the camera after going downstairs for the third time to get some coffee or something. So everything's doing good. They have packed up everything, but remember how Vinton says how much he loves Buddies? So he tries to get the chips. So RJ tries to get the chips, the spuddies, from out of the cabinet, and then and then and 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 and, and then Fern tells him that they have more than enough and they should go before she comes back. But RJ says, "No, Vincent, this will only take a second." And then Fern says, "Vincent, who's Vincent?" And then RJ says, "Fern, Vincent, a simple slip of the bear. I mean, tongue is what I meant to say." And then he told them again, "We have more than enough." And then RJ says, "Hey, I got this long to hand over that wagon of food to a bear. Cause if these chips are not on the menu, then I will be. Now let go of my tail." And then when he realized that RJ said that, he says, "What?" And then even though RJ gets the chips, they still get caught, and Heather gets kicked, but she actually knows how to play dead from her dad. So Heather the possum is okay, and she hugged her dad, and she says, "I learned from the best how to play dead." And then her dad says, "That's my girl." And then, and then, and then, and, 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 and then Gladys Sharp calls the exterminator, and he actually gets all the animals except for RJ, who made it out with the wagon of food, and he takes it to Vincent, and 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 and, Vincent the bear tells RJ, "If you keep this up, you're gonna end up being just like me, having everything you ever wanted." And then and 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 then RJ tells him, "Yeah, but I already had that." And he says, "What? Them? You don't need them. You said it yourself. You're a family of one." And then and and then RJ says, "Actually, I do. And right now they really need me, so I really need this." So he takes the wagon of food back, chases them to the animal exterminator's van, and he actually helps them out. But none of them want to let him in until Fern says, my tail is not tingling. Just let him in." And then they say, "Oh, why didn't you say so?" And then he says, "Thank you," but the bear catches up to them, and the bear actually opens the trunk, actually opens the truck and says, "You're dead, RJ, and your friends are next." But, 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 the raccoon, but, but, the hedgehogs actually help because they, they actually poke the bear with their creels, and then the bear says, "Ah!" And then they actually lose the bear because the kids are driving. And I have to tell you, the funniest part of this whole movie was like when the adults were arguing about trusting RJ again, and and um and 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 and, and actually Francis, he said he was sorry, just let him in, and then somebody said, and he brought a bear back with him, and and then the and then the kids start yelling, "Hey, no fighting while we're driving. We will turn this man around, mister." And then the adults are so shocked that the only thing they can say is, "He started it." So the kids actually lube the bear with using a hammer. And how the guy is not hearing this, it just drives me crazy. Because he ends up losing control of the van, but he doesn't end up hearing this because he is knocked out. The guy that is driving the van, they knocked him out so that the animals can drive. And the kids actually lose the bear for a minute, and then everybody goes back to the hedge, but they're still in trouble because Gladys Sharp, the exterminator, and the bear are trying to get them. So RJ decides to sacrifice himself, but Fern says, "I intend to um protect my family, whole family. There must be something we can do." And then they get Hammy to drink an energy drink, turn on the power, and then the exterminator, Gladys Sharp, in the bear actually gets trapped in one of the traps and actually gets stung by the deporter Turbo. And then the police show up, and then they try to arrest her, but she said that she can't be arrested because she is the president and she is not going down without a fight. So she starts fighting him, and the exterminator gets away, but he does get bitten by the dog. And it's so funny because um when the two when the two humans get burned with the bear by the deporter Turbo, they watch it like in 3D, like they're at the movies, and they're popping popcorn. And then at the end, they welcome RJ into the family for good. And then Fern tells RJ that, RJ, if you would have told us from the beginning that 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 all that food was to feed a hungry bear, we would have given it to you. And then RJ said, "Really?" "Yeah, because that's what families do. They look out for each other." And then RJ says, "Well, I really wish you would have told me that sooner." And then Fern says, "Well, yes, that's called bad communication. Also something families do." And then Fern tells him, "Honestly, RJ, a family, this is the great way to the good life. So what do you say? Do you want to become a part of it?" And then RJ shakes his head yes. And then it's a big group hug. And then Fern says, "What a first week of spring, huh? But that means there's only a few more days until winter. What are we gonna do for food?" And then Hammy says, "Ooh, And then RJ says he 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 he, he, he uh, um um uh, he actually points to Hammy with Hammy having his hand raised, and Hammy actually says, "I I filled the log," and then and then and 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 then and and then and and then Hammy actually points to the log and says, "I found um my my acorns." Because remember, he was looking at acorns at the beginning, and then at the very end of the movie, we see them actually playing with the vending machine, and they actually got all the chips down, and that is the end of the movie. Bye, and see you guys in my next video. Oh, and before I go, tell me your favorite animal from Over the Hedge, if you please. Drop it down in the comments. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you guys in my next video. Drop down who's your favorite animal from Over the Hedge. Come on, don't be shy now. And what is your favorite scene from that movie? Bye, and I will see you guys in my next